the Broncos roster completely set, or are there some players that we should go out and sign before the 2025 season officially begins? What's up, Broncos country? Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. And on today's episode, the top remaining free agents that could fit the Broncos, because obviously there are some that wouldn't fit, but the ones that I believe the Broncos could sign that would completely round out their roster heading into 2025. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into the list. The first guy, everybody's fan favorite, J.K. Dobbins. And the reason I say J.K. Dobbins is because not only has everybody kind of, noted him as a notable free agent that's still out there, but he is a very productive running back when he's on the field. And you'll see here in a little bit, spoilers, that there is a major concern with his ability to stay on the field. But let's take a look at this. He had over 1,000 scrimmage yards in 2024. He missed 4 games last season with a knee injury, and his projected contract would be a 2-year, $8.1 million deal. It's a pretty cheap offer for somebody that, when healthy, can give you solid running back numbers. But the big issue is he can't stay on the field. He's never healthy. In fact, this guy has had a major injury, or at least some form of injury, every single season that he's been in the NFL, whether that's with the Baltimore Ravens, the Los Angeles Chargers. Actually, those are the only 2 teams he's played for. So the Ravens or the Chargers. So let's talk really quickly about Dobbins' injury history, shall we? Let's take it back from when he first entered the league. In 2021, he missed the entire season with a knee injury. Then in October of 2022, tore his ACL. He then tears his Achilles tendon in 2023 on September 10th. And then fast forward all the way to November of last year, an MCL sprain. What's something that you notice here? Every single injury, or at least major injury that he's dealt with, has been to his lower half, either to his knee or down in his Achilles. Now again, in 2024, in 13 games played, very solid numbers. I can't complain about any of these. Averaged a very good yards per carry. 905 rushing yards is nothing to scoff at. Found the end zone a total of 9 times. All of these things are great. But the best ability is availability. And the one thing that I look back at his career numbers, while they are good for the amount of time that he's played, you'll notice something. There has not been a single full season in his career. So what makes me think that in 2025, he's going to give you anything less than maybe 10 games played? I don't think he'll ever play a fully healthy season. Listen, it's unfortunate, but when a player is injury-riddled, we saw this with guys like Kevin White. There have been a multitude of players that have dealt with this type of thing from day one that they've entered the league. Dobbins is just one of those players that will battle injuries his entire career. And it's going to be the ultimate reason that his career is cut short. So do I think adding Dobbins to this room, this running back room, currently as it's constructed, is a good thing? Yeah, maybe on paper, and maybe in theory, and if you're a complete optimist, it sounds great. But the truth is that why would I want to sign somebody and pay money to for someone that most likely is not going to give me a fully healthy season? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And also, I trust RJ Harvey. I trust his ability to take over as the lead back for this team. So no, unfortunately, for those reasons, I wouldn't sign JK Dobbins. And I know that, might sound harsh, but that's just the business that we're in. Your best ability is to play a full season. And he has not shown that he can do that at all. So I'll ask you, would you sign J.K. Dobbins? Yes or no? Super simple question. I'm saying no. I have some serious pause about players that not only have injury history, but have not played a full, healthy NFL season. That's just my opinion. My second free agent available that I wanted to kind of target is probably somebody that you've never heard of before. Jonathan Bullard, defensive end from the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Why Bullard? Well, he's clearly the top defensive lineman that's still available in free agency. And if you look back at his career, there's not a lot to write home about. He's a former third-round pick by the Bears. He spent the last 3 years with the Vikings, but he did post a career high in tackles for loss in 2024. Now, you're probably wondering, Moose, why the hell is this guy on your list if you don't think that highly of him or if there's not a lot to write home about? Well, the truth is that this wouldn't be a player that starts. This would be a rotational player. Having depth at any position is one of the most underrated values of any professional sports team. I can name every single major sport: baseball, football, basketball. The teams that end up doing the best in the postseason are the teams that have reliable depth and really good starters. It's kind of a nice balance of both. And last year, again, not a lot to write home about. He's not a player that's going to get after the quarterback. So get that out of your mind. He's more going to be a tree stump in the middle of the field. And this could be obviously somebody that I believe could sit behind DJ Jones. Why not? God forbid an injury happens or you need to come out and, you take a breather. This could be a player that you sign for the veteran minimum or a very low contract and just say, hey, give us some decent play here. He could also sit behind John Franklin Myers as well. I'm not saying he has to fit in one particular spot. He doesn't have to be a nose tackle. He could fit anywhere. Maybe you put him behind Zach Allen. But the point is, he won't start. He'll just be a rotational piece that the Broncos could end up signing if they so choose to go out and say, hey, we just want to add a little security to our defensive line. Could help in the run game, too. That's the big thing. If he can plug up those holes and make sure that that defensive line is solidified with, stopping the run because we don't need any help getting back after the quarterback. I think this could be a player that we could end up signing for a very cheap deal. Now, what would that cheap deal look like? Well, how about this? A 1-year, $5.5 million deal, $3 million guaranteed. You give $2.5 million in incentives. Who says no to that? A $3 million deal for a player who got 7 tackles for loss last year? I think that's a very reasonable price to ask. And look, he obviously is looking for something more. That's probably why he's still on the market right now. But eventually, time's a ticking. You need a job. You want to get on a roster before the 53-man is finalized. So could this be somebody that we, call up post June 1st? Absolutely. I don't see why not. Now, before we get into our last free agent available, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are less than 300 away from hitting 36,000 on the channel. It would do me a great help here if you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already and lock us in as the fastest growing Broncos channel on YouTube. Our final free agent available. Somebody that we have talked about as well on the channel before. Nick Chubb. 2 running backs on this list. Moose, you're crazy. Well, not so fast, my friend. Nick Chubb, I thought for sure, had a deal lined up with the Chicago Bears like yesterday. Nothing's happened. Now, maybe they're waiting for post-June 1st, but something tells me that the further and further we get along, the less confidence I have in the Bears' ability to sign this guy. Now, remember, prior to the injuries, Nick Chubb was a top 5 back in the NFL. I'll repeat that one more time in case you didn't hear me correctly. He was a top 5 back in the NFL. Those knee injuries, those leg injuries, some serious stuff, plus his broken foot. It's not a good look. I don't think Nick Chubb's ever going to be the same Nick Chubb that he was before. But the last 4 seasons would indicate that even if he's 80%, 75% of the player that he once was, you're still getting 1,000 yards a season. And Broncos country knows that after last year, what we rolled out with our running back situation, we would gladly take a 1,000-yard rusher. Now, Mary Kay Cabot, she is a Browns beat reporter. She kind of covers them exclusively along with some basic NFL stuff. She signified that the end of the era in Cleveland it's pretty much upon us. There's no shot Nick Chubb's going back. In fact, Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, kind of said point blank, it's never going to happen. We're not bringing him back. We wish him the best. He's been an amazing part of this team, an amazing part of our culture, but unfortunately, we have to move on. They also drafted 2 running backs in the 2025 NFL draft. So if that just tells you anything, they're done with him. Now, his injury history is also nothing that you can kind of gloss over. Earlier on, that left calf strain, it's not that big of a deal. The injured ribs, yeah, you can get over. But it's the last 2 that really stand out to me and kind of cause me to wince a little bit. He had an MCL and a meniscus tear in 2023. And then last year, when he gets back onto the field and seemingly is trying to get back into the groove, the old Nick Chubb way, he breaks his foot. That's just a major setback. And I'm sure I couldn't imagine his frustration. You come back from one serious injury only to have another really bad one. Look, Chubb is the most talented running back left on the market. But is he going to be the same player? I don't think so. It is kind of a rhetorical question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. He's not. Now, does that mean he won't be 75 or 80%, like I said, of the player that he once was? Sure. We can agree to disagree. We can split hairs on that. But what does that look like? And does that involve the Broncos in any way, shape, or form? Again, you could make the argument that both of those running backs that I listed are players that you don't want to target because of their injury history. And that's okay. I totally understand. I understand your point. And if you think that we can just ride along with, what we've got currently in the running back room, that's fine too. I don't think there's a right solution here. I think you can go with either pick and then reevaluate after the 2025 season. But let me know if you would pick any of these ones, JK for JK Dobbins or NC for Nick Chubb. That's going to do it for us on today's episode of Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Remember to subscribe. Help us get to 36,000 subs. It's going to help us out a lot. Like the video, and as always, be cool.